That fishing lure had the side to side. Yeah.
And the fish is like, oh, I can't resist you.
Honestly, I'm surprised this one even sold, frankly.
I mean, $3 off of that. That's
good. I've never heard of Timber Tots by Chlorophyll, but...
You never heard of Timber Tots by Chlorophyll?
I haven't.
Come on.
I mean, I'm not familiar with the Twitwits.
I mean, you're saying this. I mean, they'll get to see a picture.
Yeah.
I don't even remember at all what that looked like. June 27th, 11:59 p.m. Toss that trash.
Those are illegal and prohibited to sell. Welcome to our What Sold video for July 7th through 13th, where we will go over every item that sold across multiple platforms for our reselling business. Let's dive in.
Not every item.
Every item.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is.
That's my Wayne's World.
All right, the first thing that sold was a 4-piece lot of Mattel Barbie hot pink vanity items. It included a washcloth, a mirror, and a brush, and a little soap. This was gifted to us to sell out of the Barbie bag. We had no cost. It sold for $11.98.
Thing just keeps on giving.
I know. Next up was a 2012 Manhattan Toy Company brown plush Ansel the Angelfish hand puppet. It was supposed to have
anglerfish.
Oh, is that what did I say?
Angelfish.
Oh, anglerfish, yeah.
Different kinds of fish altogether.
And it had the little lantern thing, and it was supposed to light up, but the battery was dead. And it couldn't be replaced. It was sewn into the animal.
It was supposed to light up?
Yeah.
Ooh,
I disclosed that's why it said read.
I didn't even realize that.
So this was purchased at a garage sale for 50 cents and it sold for $18.98. And actually, when the guy sent the offer, I also sent him a message saying, just be aware that the
he was like,
oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh. But he didn't return the item. Just, if you don't know what we're talking about last week's What Sold video.
This came out of this is another of this 50 cent. This came out of the Puppet / Sesame Street plush box we bought for $5.
It's not Sesame Street, Muppets.
Oh yeah, not Sesame Street. Yeah, Muppet / Puppet. Muppet Puppet box.
Yeah.
How did I make that connection before? The Puppet Muppet box has been very, very profitable.
It has been, yes, for sure. Next up was a Great River, the Rio Grande in North American History by Paul Horgan. It was a 1954 hardcover set of books that were in a slipcase. We got this at a garage sale for 50 cents and it sold for $34.99.
It's good for a book.
It is. Next up was a vintage Rapala Glidden Wrap 12 silver flash side-to-side fishing lure. That fishing lure had the side-to-side. Yeah.
And the fish is like, oh, I can't resist you.
We got that at an estate sale for $4 and it sold for $30 even. Next up was a set of 2 Fisher-Price Little People Disney Frozen figures. It was Elsa and Kristoff. And those we got at a garage sale. And that came from that garage sale where I had already applied the cost to other stuff on the spreadsheet and held on to these for a while before I listed them. So I have them listed in the spreadsheet for $0. They sold fast for $10.38. Next up was a 1995 Collector's Choice Special Edition Gold Signature Brett Butler card. This was Kevin's and it sold for $6.29. That was a good one.
Gold signature. There was only one per box or something.
The gold package.
Yeah, the gold package.
Next up was a pair of American Eagle women's destroyed high-rise jean shorts. They had feather embroidery on them. I got these from a lady that I used to buy on a lot of stuff from her. We connected through the Nextdoor app and she used to call me when she had stuff and I would go over and buy stuff from her, but she quit calling me. I don't know if she moved or what, but I had paid $2.94 for this item and they sold for $24.99. Next up was a vintage lot of school books from 1946. They were all the same books. They were called Bigger and Bigger, and they had some damage to them. That's why it says read. These were gifted to us by family, and so we had no cost. They sold for $10.38. Next up was a Sears Craftsman 3-horsepower edger trimmer. It was just the owner's manual only. And this was also gifted to us. We had no cost. It sold for $18.38.
Don't sleep on manuals. That was 11 bucks. Easy.
Next up was a vintage pair of 1970s Levi's Stay Pressed men's no iron black tab denim jeans. Definitely be on the lookout for vintage Levi's.
Those are pretty sweet. Those are very vintagey.
These were also gifted to us, no cost, and they sold for $44.98. Next up was a vintage 6-inch round beaded trivet. It had a sticker on the bottom that was marked Northern Commercial Arctic Furs. I marked it as native craft. And this came from a garage sale. We paid $5 for it. It sold very fast for $37.98. I could not find anything exactly like it, so it was very unique.
And it was definitely vintage.
Yes. Next up was an item we got at the same garage sale. This was an Inficon TechMate refrigerant leak detector, and we had the case with it. It worked, but we did not. It seemed like it needed a new
sensor.
Sensor, yes, a new sensor. And we had two of them. We had one that was marked that we labeled as A and one that was labeled as B. This one was B. We paid $5 for this at that same garage sale. This one sold for $92.98. So definitely be on the lookout for these. Next up was a 2000 Georgia State Highway map. And we got this at that garage sale where we got all the maps. We paid 9 cents for it and it sold for $9.99. Next up was a vintage 1998 Rugrats movie blue embroidered backpack. It was brand new with the tags. Somebody had probably, I think this was like a movie premiere giveaway, and
yeah, I think so.
I think that's where they got it and they never took the tags off.
It was still in the original bag.
Yeah.
Like it was new.
So we got this at a garage sale for just $3. It sold for $40 even.
And we got good feedback on that. He was very happy with
I'm sure it was perfect.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
It's brand new.
Next up was a little action figure. It was called Timber Tots by Chlorophyll Twit Wit Family Replacement Brown Owl. We got this out of the Goodwill bins, and it looks like I had held this off to the side and didn't list it. Sometimes I do that with little action figures because I might want to like lot them all together.
Of something like that's
negligible.
It's just.
So I had put this in our spreadsheet at 0, and it sold for $9.44. Honestly, I'm surprised this one even sold. Frankly,
I mean, $3 off of that. That's
because I've never heard of Timber Tots by Chlorophyll, but.
You never heard of Timber Tots by Chlorophyll?
I haven't.
Come on.
I mean, I'm not familiar with the Twitwits.
I mean, you're saying this. I mean, they'll get to see a picture.
Yeah.
I don't even remember at all what that looked like.
It just kind of looked like a Little People. I think that's why we picked it up. We thought it was Little People. Okay, so before we continue, I would like to ask you to pause for just a minute and hit that like button and that subscribe button. It would really mean a lot to us. All right, now we are going to talk about our one fail of the week, and it's a surprising one.
Only one?
Yeah, only one. It was a North Face women's white fleece full zip Polartec Denali jacket. We recently got this at a garage sale for $10, and I was, honestly, you guys, I was shocked when I looked this up. It was a women's small, so maybe that played part into it, and it is summertime, so maybe that also played part into it. But the resale value on North Face has like plummeted. I was shocked. Yes. I was only able to list this comfortably for $24.99. I mean, the value of North Face has just gone way down, and we ended up losing $1.34 on this because it sold for $19.98. I mean, it did sell fast, but yeah, we lost $1.34. So be careful. I would still pick North Face up because it will sell.
Comp it first.
But don't pay a lot for it.
And don't pay up.
Yeah, like do not
normally
pay up.
$10 for a North Face would be, that's fine because we'll definitely get that back. But it's like a Stanley Cup now. You just gotta be wary.
Exactly.
Don't overpay.
So next up was a men's pair of Cole Haan Grand Evolution black leather wingtip Oxford shoes. We got these at a church rummage sale for $2, and they sold for $50 even. Next up was a cassette from 1979 called Spectrum Suite by Stephen Halpern. I think it was kind of like new age music.
Yeah, that's when I picked up because the case looked so cool.
Yeah.
Just picked it up.
I think new age stuff does well.
Yeah.
This we got at a thrift store for 13 cents. It sold for $11.98. Next up was a pair of vintage Herman Survivor boots. These were insulated for up to negative, or down to, I guess, negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and they were leather logger boots. We found these recently at a garage sale for $10. They sold very fast for $48. Next up was the brand was SKL, and that stood for something I can't remember what, but these were Cheetah Spot Gold Light Filtering Rod Pocket Curtain Panels. We found these doing retail arbitrage. We got them on clearance. We were all in on both of these for $4.86, and they sold for a total of $40.08. They did take a while to sell.
Yeah, it was pretty good though. We got $9 a pop on them.
Curtains are kind of hard to move because the right person has to come along.
Yeah.
Next up was a vintage 1995 Kenner Charmkins Baby Sunshine Replacement Bassinet. This was gifted to us. It was in a Barbie bag. We've had no cost, and it sold for $14.18. I could not identify this with any of the Google Lens search that I did, and ended up getting help from one of those Facebook groups. They were able to identify it fast. Next up was another one of those Inficon TechMate refrigerant leak detectors. This one we also paid $5 for at a garage sale, and it sold for $70. I think this is the one that had like a little crack on the battery case.
Yeah, where the battery cover slips off, that little tab part was broken. It's still shut, yeah, but it was clearly visibly cracked.
Yeah.
And then the other one that we saw before had the manual and some replacement tip things.
Yeah.
So this one was just the meter in the box.
Yeah.
With the crack in it. But it seemed to work.
Next up was a lot of 3 various anime DVDs. It included JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Samurai 7, and The Devil Lady. We found these at various places, but some of them came from the bins. We were all in on these for $4.67, and they sold for $15.98.
JoJo.
Next up was a hand-painted 16-inch ceramic relish olive boat. So this is like a serving dish that you would put relish or olives into. This was gifted to me a long time ago, and I just never found myself using it. So decided to sell it. I had no cost, and it sold for $20 on Mercari. Next up was a Dream Control women's miniature. I mean, it was only like this big. It was a little multicolor faux snakeskin purse. We found this out of a storage unit for $1.16, and it sold for $12 on Poshmark. Next up was a Harvard Business Review magazine storage box, like for organizing on your shelf. This was gifted to us. We had no cost, and it sold for $15.98. Next up was an Estee Lauder Modern Muse Le Rouge Mini Travel Size Spray Perfume. It was 90% full, and we did not list this on eBay. We sold this on Mercari for $16. We had paid 50 cents at a garage sale. So we always do list used perfume on Mercari only. And just a quick side note, you cannot list used perfume on Poshmark, or any perfume on Poshmark for that matter, because Poshmark requires USPS priority shipping, and you cannot ship any flammable items via priority. And just a quick reminder that you cannot sell used perfume or any used health and beauty items for that matter on eBay. And I got to thinking about this and wondered what the actual law was regarding selling used cosmetics and fragrances. And I actually took the time to read through the very lengthy FDA guidelines on cosmetics. And I personally could not locate anything that specifically prohibited the sale of used cosmetics, like per the FDA. So there were guidelines that stated that you could not sell, as they put, adulterated cosmetics, but by their definition, adulterated was more like a contamination through a toxic substance. So I did not think that fit. And there were also guidelines stating that it wasn't a good idea. It was more like not really a law or a rule, but just not a good idea to share makeup, and sharing things like a mascara wand is specifically dangerous because it can pass human bacteria from one person to another. Yeah, exactly. But no mention was made specifically about fragrances, other than it did define that a perfume or a fragrance that's used to promote attractiveness to others is considered a cosmetic by the strict definition of the FDA. So based on my research, I don't believe selling used perfume to be against the law or a contradiction to any FDA guidelines. So obviously we wouldn't do anything to break the law or any guidelines, but I personally wanted to take some time to see if there was any basis to eBay's decision about specifically the perfume, because I couldn't really figure out where it came from. So of course I'm not an attorney, I'm not a law expert, I'm not an FDA expert. So if you've researched this or you have any other information to add, please comment below and let us know. But just our personal thoughts about this and our own, personal ethics, we would recommend not selling anything that has come into contact with the human skin.
Yeah,
on any platform.
No perfume. I wouldn't sell any of those perfume things where you have to put your finger on it and shake it and then rub, or any roll-on kind of thing.
Or it has a wand.
Just things that you could spray.
Yes.
If you can spray it or safely even squeeze it out without actually coming into contact with anything, you're probably fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I agree with that.
Contamination-wise. Yeah. Those other things, that I would never sell. Even on Mercari, I would never sell something like a roll-on perfume because it's just a bad idea. Agreed. Unless you were selling an empty bottle or something.
Yeah, totally.
For decoration.
I totally agree with that. But eBay does not allow you to sell used perfume. But based on my research, I can't figure out, if there is a legal basis behind why they wouldn't allow that. But this got me thinking about another topic and thinking about what are some weird illegal things that you might not know that are illegal to sell. So there are many super obvious things that are illegal to sell, like illegal drugs, counterfeit items, recalled items, and stolen goods. Obviously, those are all illegal to sell. But there are other items that you might not have thought about that are actually illegal. And one of those is prescription items. And you might know that prescription items are illegal to sell. But just think about it this way. If it requires a prescription from a doctor at all, even if it is medical equipment, we have a piece of equipment that is like an ice machine that sends cold, icy water up to your shoulder or to your knee or to some, when I had a shoulder surgery, this was a piece of equipment that they gave me. You put ice water into the unit and it had tubes, and it sent the icy cold water up to my shoulder. And you would not think that that would be a prescription item, but in fact it is, because it required a prescription from a doctor. So things like that require a prescription from a doctor, and even prescription items from a veterinarian, you cannot sell legally. So you just need to think critically about things like that and really research any items that may be ones that you aren't aware required a prescription. Another item that is illegal to sell are some toy guns. And a toy gun must have orange markings on the barrel that were attached by the manufacturer. And if it doesn't have that, it is illegal to sell. And this is based on a US law that's been in effect since 1988. And it's just for obvious reasons, because, some of those older toy guns do look very, very realistic.
Yeah, I have a BB gun that looks exactly like an M16.
Yeah.
Exactly. You'd be like, what? From a distance, you'd think that I had a rifle.
And it would be illegal to sell that.
And it would be illegal to sell that.
So it's not illegal for him to own it, but it would be illegal for him to sell it.
But that's from the 80s. So
yes, yeah, exactly. Why. So another item that you might not be aware of are some cribs. Not all cribs, but any crib made before June 28th of 2011 is prohibited and illegal to sell. Any crib made before June 28th, 2011 is illegal to sell. And that is because it was just getting too hard for them to recall. There were so many that were illegal, and there are a lot of ones they were having to recall for many different reasons. Specifically, the drop side cribs are deemed dangerous, but it was just getting so out of hand with the CSPC that they just decided that they were going to pick the date of June 28th, 2011, and anything made before that date is illegal and prohibited. So
June 27th, 11:59 p.m., toss that trash.
Those are illegal and prohibited to sell. So the other thing that you might not be aware of are the vintage lawn darts, or they are also called jarts. These are not the weighted ones that you see today that you throw and they just like plop on the ground. These are the flying ice pick missiles that are from the 70s or 80s. And sadly, these resulted in the death of one person and like over 6,000 emergency room visits. So they are super dangerous. And actually, the father of the girl who died tirelessly fought to get these things recalled, and they are now illegal to sell. So that's how that happened. Next up was one that I actually learned about just from doing this research, and that is children's metal jewelry. And that's because there have been countless recalls which have shown dangerous levels of lead, cadmium, and other harmful elements in a lot of children's metal jewelry. And as you can imagine, kids put the jewelry in their mouth and they chew on it, and then that can cause heavy metal toxicity or poisoning from lead. And so the rule of thumb is when in doubt, throw it out. And basically, if you as a reseller cannot prove that it is safe, you cannot legally resell it. So if you come across children's metal jewelry, it is probably not legal for you to sell if you don't have the method to test it.
I would say in that instance, just sell it as small adult jewelry.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Petite adult jewelry.
So if you learned anything new from this list, let us know by commenting below with a glasses emoji. I guess I'm going to have to comment with the glasses emoji because I learned about the kids' jewelry.
See?
Yeah.
See? Yeah, about selling it as adult jewelry.
All right, next up on the list was a pair of Cevin For All Mankind women's purple and black metallic skinny jeans. We got these at a garage sale for $2 and they sold for $47.98.
Those were nice jeans.
They were pretty cool. Next up was a 24-piece lot of 1980 Fisher-Price Little People Tudor dollhouse, and it had a bunch of accessories with it. We paid $15 at a garage sale and it sold for $89.99. Next up was a great sale.
This one was fantastic.
This is a bolo to be on the lookout for. This was the television series Riptide. We had seasons 1, 2, and 3 on DVD. Yep, it was a 13-disc set in total. There was a little bit of damage to the season 1 case, so
just the case itself had split at the fold.
So we could have listed it for a little bit more if it was in perfect condition. This was gifted to us. We had no cost and it sold for $183.98. So definitely a bolo to look for. Next up was a vintage lot of 6. They were mostly French clasp barrettes, and these were different hair clips, various ones. I had gotten them all on the same day, but at 2 different places, one garage sale and one estate sale. And I was all in on these for $4.17. They sold fast for $29.99. And vintage clips will...
Yeah, good feedback.
Oh, we did? Mm-hmm. Good. Vintage clips will sell, and if they have branding on them, specifically you want to look for Goody. The newer Goody stuff doesn't sell as well. Next up was a 1994-95 Fleer Ultra Power basketball card for Dennis Rodman.
The worm.
This was Kevin's and it sold for $2.39. And that wraps up everything for this week. We had 32 sales in total.
Not very many. Not very
many, but our average sale price was $34.07.
That was good for us, yeah.
Yeah. And our sales totaled $1,090.25. making for a net profit of $634.31.
Good week.
It was a good week, and probably because of that Riptide, that probably brought it way up.
That really brought up, and those 2 sniffers.
Yeah, that helped too. So that wraps everything up. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment below with something that you know of that might be illegal to sell, or if you learned anything new from our list.
Or if you've come up with any other sneaky ways to sell children's jewelry.
Don't comment that. Don't listen to him. All right. Thanks so much for joining, you guys, and we will catch you on the flip side.